Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure for me to be here today and to try to give you some insights from the journey, first of all, I had around Europe to prepare this report, but first of all on what is happening today on the solutions of the report. Today we are here in Porto, a fantastic place. At the same time, just now in Budapest, the European Council is meeting, and the meeting is exactly on competitiveness. And the conclusions of the European Council, I read the pre-conclusion text, are, I think, interesting because for the first time, European leaders are really taking seriously the problem of the lack of competitiveness of the European Union and the need of further steps. And I can tell you that the most important part of my journey in the preparation of the report, and then the second journey I'm having now in presentation of the report and discussing with stakeholders, is one point that is the lack of awareness. When we discuss about the single market, in reality, there's, in my view, an incredible lack of awareness of two aspects of the single market. First, the strength, the importance, and the fantastic asset that the single market is for us, for our companies, and for our European Union. But the second, lack of awareness, is the most important part, and I would like to say a few words on that. That would be the core of my presentation here, is the fact that we don't know that the single market in reality is not existing for half of the main sectors. And this is the most important part of all our reflection. In all the debates, when you see a slide on the world economy, you always see three big pillars: Europe, China, the US. Always slides with but in reality, on half of the economic sectors, the slide with Europe is just a geographical expression. It is not an economic or a political reality. And I will try to show you why it's like that, and why this lack of awareness and lack of integration is today the main problem of the lack of competitiveness of Europe, because the lack of integration is also the reason of the over-regulation and of the lack of simplification that you mentioned before in the panel before this one. I mentioned the three main sectors that are the sectors where the integration is no more there. The three sectors are not marginal sectors. They are key sectors for competitiveness and for security. Today, we know very well that in the next 5 years, security and competitiveness will be the flagships of any big decision. We have two on both, competitiveness and security. But is it possible to be in a competitiveness mode, in a security mode, while we are 27 telecom markets, 27 energy markets, and 27 financial markets, and not one financial market, one energy market, and one telecom market? This is the core of what I will present to you. And what I am presenting around Europe and the solutions are exactly to try to re-equilibrate and to integrate. And I have to say, everything is more complicated because of the paradox of the euro. We have, almost all in Europe, in our pockets, the euro. The euro is our common currency, is the most emblematic and symbolic part of the identity of one country, people. We see that borders, army, and currency are the three typical tools of the national sovereignty. We integrated the currency. Today we have a single currency. This single currency, if you take the euros that you have with you, is even written with different alphabets, just to tell you how multi-identity is the currency issue. And having the same currency, we think that Europe is totally integrated, is a unique economic reality. In reality, it is not. On the three sectors that I mentioned, you know very well who among you works on energy, on telecom, on financial services. You know very well that you have to deal in terms of regulatory authorities and supervisory authorities, not with European, but with national authorities. 27 national authorities on telecom, on financial services, on energy, with different approaches. Yes, with the way, and we are all trying to make more integrated the rules, but in reality, I can tell you plenty of examples of this fragmentation. But the main point of my report is to show that this fragmentation is the reason of the lack of competitiveness. First of all, because this fragmentation is bringing capitals and jobs in the US, in China, out of Europe. I can give you a lot of examples. Maybe the most, in this moment, speaking example, is the defense issue. Because defense is the other topic where the lack of integration is bringing jobs out of Europe. We spent to help Ukraine 140 billions euros in the last 2 years and a half, and 80% of this money was to buy non-European military furniture. So it was to create jobs in Michigan, Pennsylvania, in South Korea. Money of European taxpayers. I can tell you the same is for savings. The lack of an integrated, single European financial market is bringing savings from the European countries to the US. These same savings are becoming shares, strengthening the American companies that fly back in Europe, buying our European companies with our own savings. If you want, I can continue. We don't want to pay, an Italian will never pay with a French digital platform. A French will never pay with a German digital platform. A German will never play with a Portuguese digital platform. And we are all happy to pay all with American digital platforms. This is Europe today. And this lack of integration is the reason why we are suffering and we are lagging behind the US. I was listening about AI this morning and now. Why we are lagging behind on AI? Are we less intelligent than the US people working on that? No. Many of the big achievements in the US are made by European people there. Why? Because they have money to do so, and we don't. Because we are fragmented, and we don't have enough dimension for all these investments. So my very simple point is that in the report, you can download the report from the European Council website. You can find the 3 roadmaps on how to integrate the 3. I want to be very clear. All the proposals are with the present treaties. I don't propose any treaty change because I know that opening the Pandora box of treaty changes will stop all the concrete discussions. And I know that the problem we have today is a very concrete one. It's a red alarm. We are lagging behind. We are losing ground in Europe. And we have to intervene very quickly. So the 3 roadmaps on how to integrate the 3, telecom, energy, financial services, how to be able to scale without losing one of the great achievements of the European single market, that is the consumer protection. We can scale on telecom, keeping the consumer protection. We have to, you know very well, the level of different dimensions In Europe, we have 27 telecom markets, and we have around 80 operators. Each operator in the US has an average number of clients, 107 million clients. In China, 467 million clients for each operator. In Europe, the average number of clients for each operator is 5 million clients. It is clear that it's impossible to be able to be competitive with that. We can move from 27 to 1. We can have one single market. We can redistribute the fees through Brussels to the national governments without giving any punishment to national treasuries. Otherwise, it would be very complicated. But tell me one reason why we have plus 39, plus 33, plus 49, plus 41, and so on and so forth. There's no reason. The only reason are the fees. If we redistribute the fees, we can avoid what in some part of Europe, take Benelux. I was traveling, presenting in a Zoom meeting the report and the fragmentation of the single market to an American audience, and the line was cut. And 5 minutes later, I started again. And the reason why the line was cut is that I was passing the border between Belgium and Luxembourg. And I was not even thinking that I was passing the border. So all these problems are there, and I have to say that the problems of fragmentation, you mentioned in the introduction that another big problem of the fragmentation is the legal problem. Why we are so bad in over-regulation. Not only because the people in Brussels are bad people, but also, for instance, on artificial intelligence. I give you just one clue to understand why we had this very fast European rule on that. Because it was necessary to avoid to have 27 rules. So we, in Brussels, they intervened immediately to try to stop what was happening at national level. Each parliament was producing his own law on artificial intelligence. So the need to have one was to stop the fragmentation of 27. In Germany, I know that all the lenders, they have their own data protection regulation. And I know that Bavaria has too, because Bavaria is bigger, of course. But is the demonstration of this proliferation and the need, the integration is also the reason why we can simplify. And I come to the proposal that is, in my view, fundamental, is the proposal on the 28th virtual state. I prefer to name it virtual state rather than regime. Regime is not a fantastic word. Why the 28th virtual state? For a very simple reason. SMEs in Europe are 90% of our economy. And they don't take advantage of the single market for a very simple reason. Because in Europe we have 27 corporate laws, 27 fiscal systems. In some countries you have, Spain for instance, 17 intra-national, so regional corporate laws. This is one reason why an SME don't take advantage of the single market, because it is very complicated to have 20 lawyers with you if you are an SME, helping you in passing the border in terms of corporate laws. I mentioned my report is a very pragmatic one, so I don't propose to cancel the 27 corporate laws, because I know it is not feasible. Some of these corporate laws are coming from the 18th century. It would be, I think, very complicated to convince countries to cancel and to move to one. What is feasible is another idea, is to create the 28th virtual state and to have for this 28th virtual state his own European corporate law, giving companies the possibility to choose this one, and having this one, you have a sort of passport to when you go everywhere without the necessity of changing It is not something particularly creative. It is not far from the idea of Delaware. In the US, Delaware is working. Delaware is a physical state. In Delaware, there's also the fiscal part of the discussion. But here, I'm proposing the 28th virtual state on corporate law, on some part of the corporate laws. That can help. That can be a very useful, I think, passport to overcome all these difficulties. I conclude with some other flagships in the report that I would like to mention to you because I think they are really important. One is the idea that the single market was created in a world that doesn't exist anymore. It was created in the 80s. In the 80s, the world was completely different. I always remind to myself that in the 80s, Italy, my country, was as big as China and India together. I know you're laughing now, but it was the reality. Today, China and India together are 25% of the world GDP, 10 times Italy. But in the 80s, that was the reality. Why I say that? Because one of the problems of the single market is the fact that the European countries, the big European countries, they think to be big, and to be big as they were in the 80s. So able to compete at the same level with US, China. In reality, the European countries, they divided in two groups of countries. The small countries and the countries that they don't know they are small. These are the two groups of European countries. We are all small in this world today. And the only way and the only possibility is to integrate, to be together. This is why on these topics of the integration I'm trying to convince leaders. I'm trying to convince leaders not on an ideological way. I'm not fighting the European flag against the national flag. Today it's very complicated to have this kind of fight. But I'm trying to, and I try to convince these leaders, even the sovereignist leaders, that the main problem is to regain competitiveness, jobs, growth, and the only possibility is to integrate on some of these issues. I come back to the example of the euro. How many part of our societies were against the euro at the beginning? The idea to lose our old currency, the idea to put together, there was a big opposition to the euro. Today, 75% of the European people are in favor of the euro. Nobody is thinking, it will be better with the lira, it will be better with the drachma, it will be better with the franc or with the peseta. It's over. And we are lucky that it's over. We are lucky that we have the euro, because the euro is an umbrella. And the grand globalization is the storm, is the rain. Sometimes we think that Europe is the rain. Europe is the umbrella, and the euro is demonstrating that. So I was saying, and I stop on this final example, that when the single market was created, we were also in a world in which the world economy and the economy was very analogic, very tangible economy. It's not by chance that the single market is also known as the market of the four freedoms. Freedom of movement of goods, services, capitals, and people. And we know very well that this quadripartition is very much 20th century economy based. It's the past. We are missing the link between the single market and the intangible that is today's reality. So I propose to have a fifth freedom, adding a fifth freedom: innovation, knowledge, skills, research, the need to enhance with this fifth freedom what we are missing at the European level, thank also the link with the integration of financial markets that is, in my view, the most important part of our future. So I wanted to give you an overview of the exercise, of the conclusions, but also on the sense of the narrative I'm trying to present to the leaders, to the decision makers. But I'm very happy to be here because I'm trying also to talk and to speak with stakeholders and with protagonists of the economic life, because your role is crucial. Your role is crucial not only at the European level, but mostly at national level. Because if you are able to convince your national governments that integrating is not giving up, sometimes there's the idea that integrating is giving up. Integrating is not giving up. It's taking into account the change at world level and the need to be more competitive, being more integrated. And it is fundamental in the three sectors I mentioned. I mentioned the word security. Is it possible to be in a security mode without being energy independent, with a strong financial market, and with connectivity at the top level? I don't think so. We will be dependent, not independent, and we will be not in a security mood. So my final words are linked to the method. We have to find inside ourselves the strength, because we have it. The single market is a fantastic invention. And I have to tell you that this invention was an invention very particular also for the inventors. I am president of the Jacques Delors Institute. Jacques Delors passed away in December. Jacques Delors was the president of the Commission between 85 and 95, the creator of the single market. Once he told me, remind you that I created the single market. I was, Jacques Delors, the most pro-European leader. I had the single market success in an alliance with the most anti-European leader in that European Council. That was Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher in the UK was a protagonist of that. So it's the demonstration that we can, without an ideological approach, integrate for being more competitive. With this mission of competitiveness, jobs creation, and the possibility to be at world level enough successful. I think in the news in the last weeks, days, we heard many crises, Volkswagen, Audi, but we read also the crisis of Boeing. Why Boeing is in crisis? Because the competitor of Boeing is not 27 Airbus. The competitor of Boeing is one Airbus, and he's winning, because he is one. Because on these topics, if you are 27 because you want the national flag, you will lose. And this is the key point of all the reflections. Do you think I am presenting you an idea of a European Union that has to become like the US? No, it is not like that. I strongly believe that Europe is a fantastic mix between big and small. We are in Portugal. Portugal is not the biggest country in Europe, but Portugal, within the single market, is playing a fantastic role. Europe is a fantastic mix between big and small. We have to keep this mix, and we can do so, but we have to consider that the small of yesterday can be the same small of tomorrow. It's the big of yesterday that has to become bigger with the change of the word's dimension. And this is the key issue, and strongly hope that this report can be useful. I know that the leaders are taking into account my conclusions and Draghi's conclusion. I know that Ursula von der Leyen decided to take all these solutions and to give these solutions to the roadmaps to the 26 commissioners with her. That is, in my view, a fantastic boost to make this legislature now the legislature of competitiveness, and I think it is exactly what we need. Thank you very much.